Welcome to Farm Here Daily, a field-forward podcast. I'm your host, David Geiger. Today on Farm Here Daily, the Iowa State Fair is all wrapped up, but over the weekend I had the chance to get a recap of the 2025 fair with its CEO, Jeremy Parsons. Then we check out the status of South Central Iowa crops with agronomist Logan McCrea. Please be sure to like and follow the podcast as well as our social media at Field Forward Pod. We would love to have you join our community, keeping folks informed about what is affecting our farmers. This is Farm Here Daily. And joining me on Farm Here Daily, we have Jeremy Parsons. He is the CEO of the Iowa State Fair, and it is the last weekend of the Iowa State Fair, and it's been quite a week. We've had lots of fun talking to folks all week long. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining, and when you look at this last week, what are kind of the highlights that you have felt from the Iowa State Fair?
Well, it's been a unique week, obviously dealing with rain and heat kind of throughout. But then on the other hand, a Guinness World Record was set here at the Iowa State Fair for the most people scratching off a lottery ticket. Hey, we've set a record for the most grandstand tickets sold during the run of the fair. So on one hand, while it's been an interesting fair from the weather perspective, it, as always, is a record-setting Iowa State Fair.
As you look at the Iowa State Fair, after all the years you've been working here, it really is an opportunity for folks to get reconnected to the farm. You have plenty of livestock opportunities. Folks can see calves, see chickens, and milk cows here. How do you feel about that opportunity for people who may not know agriculture to get involved with it?
Well, the fair is really where urban and rural come together. And it's the only one of the largest platforms, maybe the only platform where really those two kind of different viewpoints come together. And so it's the opportunity to educate. As always, the fair is a showcase of the best of agriculture. So that's the internal competition between the producers themselves. But yet, it's also a chance to show off and really educate people. I think yesterday the pavilion was packed for a Highland cattle show. Obviously, Scottish Highland cattle are intriguing to a lot of people, and here's a chance to come see 40 of them in a show, and that's really what the fair is about.
And it's even more than just Iowa City folk. It also is people around the country or even the world. I know there were staffers from Washington, D.C. take an opportunity to visit a farm and then come to the Iowa State Fair. There are the Japanese Minister of Agriculture was here. How does that affect what we do here?
Yeah, you look at also the Oklahoma Commissioner of Agriculture was here, USDA Secretary Ag Rollins. Really we try to be the epicenter of agriculture during our 11 days. And again, I think it speaks to the tradition of the Iowa State Fair, the importance of agriculture in Iowa, but also a chance for us to show off again to those national and international visitors.
When you do have an opportunity to speak with them, what is the point you try to speak about the most, or maybe try to emphasize about Iowa and the Iowa State Fair?
Well, quite honestly, I do very little because their eyes are wide open and they are just shocked. They are all amazed at what we do here, can't believe it. And truly, that's the response every single time. People are amazed at all the great things that we do here at the Iowa State Fair. So it's very easy to show off for sure.
Another big part of the fair is getting the next generation involved. That is a huge emphasis, especially in agriculture, is put on our FFA students, our 4-Hers. What is the biggest part of that you really enjoy making sure runs smoothly?
We're a platform for 4-H and FFA competitions, but ultimately the skills that youth are learning here at the Iowa State Fair are going to be skills that will make them successful adults in the future. And so whatever we can do to showcase that, whether it's actual livestock competitions, a livestock judging contest, working exhibits, educational presentations in the 4-H building, FFA projects, they are learning lifelong skills, and the fair is really a chance for them to show off that hard work to the public, and then use those. They're developing skills that will then make them successful in the future.
Let's talk logistics, because the Iowa State Fair is kind of the end goal, the end point from all the county fairs we have over the course of the summer. How does that work? How do you try to make sure that everyone has that opportunity here?
Well, we're kind of the cornerstone. Obviously, the opportunity to go to your county fair, and then obviously there's an opportunity to come to the Iowa State Fair. And so, really the success of the Iowa State Fair is the county fair system in Iowa. We're really the cornerstone, the pinnacle of that, I guess opposite ends of the spectrum, but we really are part of this much larger county fair system in Iowa, and that's why the Iowa State Fair is as strong as it is. It's because of all of the county fair individuals who are involved here at the state fair as well.
This is the weekend, so we don't have the exact numbers for everything, but just looking behind me, I'm seeing plenty of days over 100,000 visitors, and I immediately think the Des Moines Metro is only like 650, 750,000 people. That's a pretty big surge for just one place. How do you feel about that level of population and visitors?
Well, Iowans love their fair, and that's been evident more than ever this year, even in maybe not perfect weather conditions. They've come out and wanted that full fair experience. And so whatever we can do to offer that is definitely something we need to provide.
Just in review, 2025, we are expecting the Great American State Fair. That is a really big opportunity to show off our fairs on a national level. What is your primary desire when approaching that?
Yeah, we actually are further along in planning the 2026 fair than maybe any other fair in history, quite honestly, because we know the 26 fair is going to be extremely successful, or not extremely successful. We hope it'll be successful, but we know that it's going to be a fair that everyone will remember because it is a celebration of our nation's 250th birthday. We still have fairgoers remember the 1976 fair, the nation's bicentennial, and so there's going to be some really unique programming, some really cool, fun twists to really make that 26 fair stand out, and obviously we can't wait to start making those announcements as soon as Fair Sweet Fair ends.
As soon as Fair Sweet Fair ends, we are rapidly approaching that end. What is just a final note you'd like to give folks as this is probably going to be, rolling out early next week. So the fair is going to be done with when folks are hearing this. So what would you just like folks to hear when they think on the fair this year?
I hope, as always, they've come here and they've made great memories with their family. I hope they've enjoyed the competitions, the food, the entertainment. It's kind of Iowa's reunion, and so I hope it was a chance for them to reconnect with a neighbor or just reconnect with their fellow Iowans and enjoy the fair.
Jeremy Parsons is the CEO of the Iowa State Fair, joining me on Farm Here Daily. Thank you so much for your time, Jeremy, and good luck on this last weekend at the Iowa State Fair.
Thank you, and again, thanks to Iowans for coming out and supporting their fair.
This is Farm Here Daily. We will have another conversation on the way, but first, let's take a look at the marketplace. And there was a mixed market at the close on Monday. September corn 3 3/4 weaker, $3.83, with December rising a penny and a quarter, $4.06 1/2. Soybeans in September a penny and a half cents down, $10.20 3/4, with November a penny and a quarter weaker, $10.41 1/4. Soybean meal in September $3 a ton in the red at $280.40. September wheat 3 3/4 lower, $5.02 3/4, with December down 2 cents, $5.25. In the livestock market close for Monday, October live cattle up 52 cents a hundredweight, $231.17. December rising $1.10, $233.27. Feeder cattle in September $3.57 lower, $350.92, with October up at $4.35 at $350.25. Lean hogs in October 2 cents a hundredweight more, $90.12, with December 42 cents up at $83.45 a hundredweight. That is the Monday market close. This is Farm Here Daily. And joining me on Farm Here Daily, we are going to go over some agronomy topics with South Central Iowa agronomist for ISU Extension, Logan McCrea. Logan, glad to have you back on Farm Here Daily. How you doing? How you been? How was the Iowa State Fair, and how are the crops in your area?
Oh, thanks for having me, David. The Iowa State Fair, like normal, it's either hot, humid, and just absolutely unbearable, or it's cool, wet, and just whatever it can to make the locals not want to be there. But we braved it, and we went there and kind of tried out some of the new food and had a good time. But it was a good break from the crops. But in general, South Central crops are looking really, really good for this time of the year. You know, I think we're dealing with a lot of the same that the rest of the state is having. We've had a lot of wet weather, and that's kind of brought a lot of disease issues. But we're chugging along to the finish line with the heat and the moisture that we've had this summer, and we're creeping ever so slowly to harvest.
Going over some of those issues that have been going across the state, I think disease pressure is a big point right now. South Central Iowa, how is the disease pressure there?
Yep. So, like much of the state, I think everybody is really kind of seeing this southern rust from all the southerly winds that we've been having this summer. That's brought a lot of heat, and which has been good. A lot of heat and moisture from the Gulf, which has been great for the crops, but that brings in some of the southern rust that we've been seeing. And I know I've talked to a few of the plant pathologists in Ames, and this is like one of the weirdest summers they've seen, just because it's so widespread and it's so dense wherever it is. It's just kind of a weird summer. So we're fighting a lot of that in the corn. It's been pretty variable on depending on whether or not somebody sprayed or not. Fields that didn't get sprayed are definitely, you can walk out there and you can get a pretty easy self tan just from the rust rubbing off on the leaves. And even some fields that got sprayed really early might have needed a second application to kind of try and combat that. So it's out there. It's pretty easy to see. I don't think it's any secret at this point. I'm not sure how much to make of whether or not it's going to have a huge yield drag or not. I mean, I think a lot of it's going to be coming down to grain fill, and that's always so hard to estimate until the corn or until the combines get out there in the fields. But that's the big story on corn. And lately, in the past week or two, in the soybean side, and a lot of sudden death syndrome has really been kind of showing up in soybean fields, which isn't too surprising given the spring and early summer that we had. Early cold, wetter growing conditions, followed by a lot of really heavier pounding rains from in the summer. So it's not exactly too surprising to see that, but it is definitely noticeable, and it's pretty widespread from the road, even going 55 mile an hour or wherever you are. So there's plenty of diseases out there on both sides.
I was seeing on X, Megan Anderson showing some pictures of what it looks like after you walk through some southern rust fields, and I made the joke of how there might be a value added agriculture opportunity on potentially making a new competitor for spray tans. It's pretty intense.
Yeah, if somebody just wants to stand at the edge of the field and charge $5 to go in there, somebody can walk, or anybody that wants a tan can just walk right through there and come out with a whole brand new spray tan, and maybe be a little itchy, but they'll be looking a little bit darker than they did when before they come in.
The sacrifices for beauty. Oh boy. Logan, as you go through the next week as well, are you seeing any insect pressure over the weekend and into mid-August here?
Yeah, so insect wise, the corn and soybeans, I mean, there's not a ton going on out there at the moment. Nothing that's too worrisome. But on the forage side, the past week or so, there's definitely been an uptick in phone calls regarding fall armyworm. It's really starting to make a charge and kind of wreak some havoc in some of these hay fields. And luckily, we've had our first what feels like dry spell. I use air quotes around that. First dry spell this summer where we've kind of had some good cutting windows, so people were able to get some hay off the ground and get it put up. But there's still a lot of significant feeding going on, and some people are kind of being catched off guard with it, finding some areas where it's just stem, no leaves, and their alfalfa or whatever it is, whether it's their yard getting tore up. There's plenty of it going around.
Logan, what are some of the big factors you'll be watching for as we close out August this year?
Well, I think now is kind of time to evaluate your program from this past year, whether that's your weed control. I know Megan Anderson, she always kind of deemed it the state fair flush, right about the state fair time. A lot of weed escapes will start coming in, especially at the wet summer we've had, where some of that residual is getting flushed out, or weed seeds are just getting an opportunity to kind of germinate this far into the year. So evaluating things like that, or even if we're kind of running short of nitrogen, whether you need to evaluate your nitrogen management plan, just the little things like that, evaluating your farm, your program, how you want to manage things, and any changes you want to make for the future. And this summer has been so weird that I think you got to take it with a little bit of grain of salt, a lot of the things, because we haven't had a summer like this in forever.
Logan, Want to just make a comment on the wet weather because it definitely has stayed pretty rainy as far as central Iowa for the month of August. How is that affecting fields? Is it affecting fields?
Yeah, I mean, down this way, we've kind of avoided. I know central Iowa and north central Iowa, they've been kind of getting a lot of rains lately, and we've kind of had that rain give us a bit of a break lately. So, I mean, I'm not for sure. I haven't seen any of the 4 or 5 inch rains in an hour or anything like that, and those are kind of more the ones that I'm a bit worrisome about. I mean, rain at this point really is going to be helping out a lot of the soybeans or the regrowth on your alfalfa or your forages, whatever it is. So as long as we can kind of stay away from the 90-mile-an-hour winds, the white combines, or the 4 or 5 inches of rain in an hour, I think most of it can be pretty beneficial from us. We've had plenty of rain this summer, but I mean, I don't think anybody will ever turn down a little bit of extra rain to kind of help corn finish filling out or soybeans get some good pod filling going. So I don't know. It's hard to say for sure.
Logan McCrea is the agronomist for South Central Iowa for Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. Logan, joining us on Farm Here Daily. Thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate it. Looking forward to another chat here in a few weeks.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, David.
This is Farm Here Daily, a Field Forward podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Again, in order to continue to produce this type of local content, we would love to have you join our community. So please follow the podcast as well as our social media channels at Field Forward Pod. You can also find me on social media at Geiger Reports, as well as WHO TV Channel 13 every weekday in their morning and noon hour programs. Again, I am your host, David Geiger, and I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody.